Hey y'all, it's Renegayde. Let's spill some Reali-Tea on Canada's Drag Race Season 6. Don't be sorry about it. Make sure you like and subscribe for more. You're not going to want to miss a single drop of content for this messy-ass season. On this episode, the Devil Wears Custom again as a fan favorite. Brooke Lynn Hytes Design Challenge has returned. And with a place in the final 5 on the line, the pressure is at an all-time high. But before we talk about it, let me say solutions to my co-host, creator of the set Ode to Ho, it's QuackrrJack.
Hello, bonjour. I'm here again to watch our Canadian girls give it all they got in another design challenge. It's my favorite thing. Actually, truly the first design challenge when you think about it, since it's like only half the girls had to do a design challenge and most of them bitches gone. So,
It was like starting fresh all over again. It's like that whole twist didn't even happen, right? So,
I mean, kind of actually.
I mean, I was gonna feel or say I do feel some type of way based off of like how things kind of ended here. I'm trying to feel like if
Oh,
I'm feeling
definitely.
like and I don't think it's enough to the point where I'm like outraged. I think I'm a little like just confused, I guess. But like we could kind of get into that when we get there. But um, one girl that was feeling some type of way at the start of this week's episode was Van Goth, and after last week's Untucked drama, she was definitely feeling some type of way, and she definitely had to let the girls know that she was not feeling good about the reactions to her at the again the last Untucked, where it felt like she was kind of being a little bit disregarded in her feelings when she was giving a very valid case as to why she should be saved, and it felt like everybody was kind of making reasons up for everybody else to be saved. So she made it clear that she was feeling some type of way, and Sammy did have a good response back to it. I felt like in that. Sometimes Van does radiate so much strength that it's easy to kind of forget that people like that do need a little bit comforting as well too. So I liked Sammy's response to that. I thought that was a good response. Saltina was a little all over the place, a little wishy washy. Because initially she said it's because she's intimidated by Van, but then like the next morning when they get into their little group huddle before they call the message, uh, she's a little spiteful towards Van because apparently she's mad because all the drama that Van caused during Untucked took away any of the last moments she could have had to bond with Velma, and for Velma to get a moment before she left. And I'm not buying it. It feels more that people are just feeling some type of way that like Eboni and Van's alliance was blatantly called out, right? And it just feels like they're maybe feeling some type of way because they feel like they're being devalued in the competition because Ebony and Van are very supportive of each other, saying that they're going to be in the final 2 with each other, which is, I mean, that's what you say when you're in an alliance with the girl. So I'm like, I don't know why they're like that pressed about it, especially when it seemed like it was pretty blatantly out there, right? So, what are your thoughts here on all this drama going on with the girls?
Right, let's start from the very beginning. We get into the workroom. Van called it back out that Saltina was a lying hoe, and she was right. Like, unfortunately for Saltina, she got caught in a lie. She said that it wasn't about the fact that she saw Van as competition or anything like that. She just, really had a connection with Velma, and she saw her in her head. But the moment that she gets into the workroom, now all of a sudden it's because I see you as big competition. And I was like, oh, so what she said was right. And then the next day, she's like, well, I just don't think it was right that you took up all this time when you were trying to save yourself. So I didn't have that conversation with my friend who might be going home. Like, you could have pulled Vanessa to the side. If you really were like, I need this moment with her, you could have
Now
done
you're
that.
calling her Vanessa again.
Oh, I'm so sorry. See, Velma. You could have called Velma to the side and been like, girl, come on. But so this is the thing. This is the thing. Like, Van called it out last time. I'm calling it out again. Clock it. That, like, the girls were being fake. The girls were being very fake. And let's talk about it for a second because if we're going to talk about, like, oh, well, now there's this alliance between Ebony and Van Goth, this is a two-person alliance, mind you. A two-person alliance that now we're at the top 6 you care about. Where was the care when the other girls were making their clowns alliance that you're all very well aware of, right? A three-person alliance that then brought in Maya, and like, so everyone knew about it, kind of thing, right? And then all of a sudden we didn't know about it.
I mean,
And they
do
even said,
Saltina and Caramel know about it?
well, they definitely said it in the mirror message.
I mean, they're just kind
They're
of there
like,
this season. It feels like they have no relevance to the story other than Saltina now being like pressed about this whole Velma thing, and I'm just kind of like, oh, okay.
well, Saltina has been in the story like through and through. And one of the issues with me with Saltina, and this might just be a difference in opinion thing, like I'm not trying to just be mean, but I think something that like I don't really understand about Saltina is a lot of the things she says come off as very, I don't want to say calculated because that gives a stigma with it. I want to say it comes off very rehearsed. It comes off very like I'm thinking about what other people are going to think about me kind of thing, as opposed to like how she's really feeling, because a lot of it feels disingenuous to me. And that's just like, maybe it's because of the type of person I am, where like I'd rather a bitch say everything to my face 100% how they feel like, and don't care about the consequences per se, as long as you aren't like saying something like a slur or whatnot. But Saltina feels very rehearsed in the sense that she's always trying to say something in the most positive way. Like, I've learned from this. I'm growing. I realize I can still do this. I realize I'm here now. Like, she keeps saying this like every episode. Have you noticed? She keeps saying like, and I've learned in this. And I'm like, okay, but this is not like have a mental correlation moment for myself and my drag experience race. This is drag race. Like, I'm not here to hear about like your whole life journey happening in this like one confined space and how it affects you every single day, every single second. I just want to feel. I want to know how you feel. If you don't want to tell me how you feel, great. If you do, just be genuine about it. Don't be so rehearsed. Just say exactly what you mean. Whereas people with Van, like a person like Van is the exact kind of the same way, where she just wanted her to say it. And with Sammy, I was kind of like, ugh. I was a little disappointed. And it's not that Sammy did anything wrong. No, let me take that back. It's not that Sammy initially or personally did anything wrong. It's just, I really hate this idea that because someone isn't the exact perfect, like, way that you want them to be about when they're in the bottom or when they're in like a lower point, that they are somehow getting dehumanized in a way. And it kind of felt a little bit, I'm not saying the girls meant to, it kind of felt like the girls were trying to use that as a cop out for what would happen with Van. Like,
Hmm.
I understand that you might see Van as like very confident and that she doesn't need to have like people backing her up, but the fact that you all sat there when you were in the bottom and said one thing about who deserved it, and then the very next week said the complete opposite, is hypocritical. And she called it out, and she was right.
Well, in some ways, it feels like it is personal, right? There are some
Yeah,
personal
it's
feelings there
definitely
that are getting
personal.
in the way, and it seems like they're trying to acknowledge it, and they're trying to, justify their reasoning for feeling or saying how they acted in one way by how Van was doing or saying one thing in a completely different situation, right? So it's like them interpreting the alliance one way is making them really, and I think also too is the fact that not only are they in an alliance together, they're also the top two girls that are flourishing the most in this competition. Out of
Hmm.
what, 6, 7 episodes now, they've been at the top every single one, other than two, right? And the
Yeah.
two was when I think Saltina won one of them. So, I feel like if I was Saltina, I would feel like maybe I'm one of the pillars, one of the girls that are possibly up for the crown, just because I do have a win. Even if somebody else has 3 wins, you're still going into the end. There's still a possibility you could get a second win in the top six, and then a third win in the top five. We've seen it very very often actually where someone has an end game, ascent to the crown. So I don't see why she was in her head so much, and that was a very common storyline for her for quite a long time. And it was just it was playing out a lot in this episode, and I think they definitely made sure to overemphasize it a little bit. I'm not sure if that's ultimately why they went with the decision they do at the end. I don't know. I don't agree with but it didn't feel like it was Saltina's time to go. At least
I
leading into
agree.
the episode up to this point. Like maybe have her in the bottom. I could see that, but I don't know if I would have just outright eliminated her here. But um, let's move on to the mini challenge here because we get a little bit of a staple here on the Drag Race in these mini challenges where they do some sort of like advertisement or like a newscast or some sort of thing in front of the camera, right? But then they make them do it with some crazy words that they can't pronounce, and I kind of felt like Sammy was doing the best for me. She was taking her time with a lot of the big words, which I think was really smart because it was allowing her to, overemphasize them and do her little comedy thing when everything was going on. And it's like, I'm not sure I felt like PM had any sort of direction where like she was going, like any clear like character. And then like these can we please again talk about these horns? Like I'm over the horns. Like, can we
Girl,
call her out on she's we've been in 7 episodes now. She's worn one wig, maybe two, but one wig. Just like
I
what are with these horns?
I don't know. I've seen so many different versions of horns, and at this point, when she said that thing about the judge coming into the room and it's like, oh well, she's spiky, so she's alien and stuff. I was like, is that all it takes for you to be like alien? Like some horns on your head or some spikes on your sides? Like, is that all it is for her? I don't know. It just felt like we've gotten so many little weird pieces on top of her head and not so much anything like to do with. And I'm not saying you always have to wear a wig, but the lack of wigs is crazy. Because everyone else, I feel like, would have been called out. I think the one time I remember her doing a wig before this, outside of the comedy challenge where it wasn't a runway, was that chemical reaction look, right? Like
Oh yeah,
she
she did have a wig
technically had a
there,
wig on, but it
I
was so
guess.
flat you didn't know. It was like so flat you didn't know, right? And oh, you know what? To be fair, she did have a wig on in the perp walk to remember look, because she dressed up as a person that was at the raids and stuff. So okay, so two instances of where I can remember her with a wig on outside on the runway, specifically on the runway. So, yes, it's getting tired. It's getting old. I'm tired of seeing the spikes. I'm tired of just seeing little stupid hats or little caps. I don't want to see that anymore. But also, I'm tired of the favoritism. And I know a lot of girls are going to be like, oh, like, how could you say favoritism when PM has, like, literally been in the bottom 4 times? Well, guess what, girls? PM has been giving us nothing every week, and she keeps staying. She is like a cockroach that refuses to die. And it's not that she refuses to die, it's that the production doesn't want to cut her, or the people making the decisions don't want to cut her. And I don't know if it's specifically Brooke Lynn and her connection to her as a dancer. I don't know if it's just they're trying to keep PM for storyline and easy, like, cut at any point now. I don't know what's going on because at some point we were all like, "Oh, Caramel's out of this. Caramel's not going to do well. Caramel is like done because she's been in the bottom twice. PM's been in the bottom 4 times, and she's still here. Girl, I'm
And she's
tired.
getting
And
charity wins.
no, if she
'Cause-
is, she finally got a mini challenge win. She's like, "This is my first challenge win." I was like, "But you didn't even win the mini challenge. Like of the shit that we saw, like no one was like, "Oh my god, PM, you did a great job." I was like, PM's really not doing a great job here. I don't think she's like doing the worst per se, but I didn't think she was doing great. And maybe she was doing worse. But either way, well, maybe Saltina. But either way, it doesn't matter. She she just was like
well,
given this win. I feel like they
they
were
did make sure to
consolation prize.
emphasize that Saltina wasn't in the light for that one moment where I was like, is that really something that needed to be emphasized
I
on?
think it did because they told her to stay in the light.
Did they? Okay,
But
I don't remember that part as much,
yeah,
but
that was one of the big things. They're like,
okay.
stay in
Then
the
if they
light
call her
and do
out,
that.
then okay, I get you. Shady foreshadowing editing, but yeah, it felt like this was much more of like a charity win at this point, where it's just like, you know what, everybody gets a win at this point. We've
Except
realized you
caramel,
can't
not
work
caramel. You
for
don't get one
oh
caramel.
no beaver, no win.
No
You just
beaver,
get to
no
exist,
mini challenge
caramel.
win, no like win in the challenges, and you know what? You that's good because you should have to earn your wins and stuff. But it's like I'm looking at a bitch who's gotten like 17 challenges in this competition, and there's only been 7 episodes. What's going on?
Oop. Well, you know what, Jack? Guess what this week is? It's Paris, Ontario Fashion Week. Or was it Ontario Paris Fashion Week? I
I
didn't
think
get
Paris,
that.
Ontario.
Okay, I was right the first time. Perfect. Yay. And category is closing the show. So we kind of already talked about this kind of challenge in our best seasons list for Canada 5, which I'll go ahead and link in the description there. So make sure you check out all of our end of the year podcasts. Got a lot of them there for y'all. Um, but just kind of talk about this sort of design challenge again in general. It's because it's like, and the queens will be designing looks for Brooke Lynn, and she'll model them on the main stage, and then they'll be coached by the one and only Slasian congeniality, Miss Suki doll, which is just so good to see Suki. Always good to see Suki. But with all that being said here, Jack, they made sure to point out that this was a fan favorite challenge. So what do you think really resonated with the fans to the point that they brought it back again this season?
Well, I think there's a couple things, at least for me, that maybe translates to the fans. One thing is that everyone is given the same exact assignment because you're all using the exact same body type. You all know that you're going to be making the look for Brooklyn. So that about evens out the ground as much as humanly possible, right? There's no more, oh, I didn't have enough fashion because I'm a bigger queen, which is something we've seen multiple times on the season. There's no I threw on like a piece of fabric over my body and just pinned it in the back where no one could see it and I win because I'm skinny.
No, you pinned
You
them in
know,
the
this
front.
is like
That's what you
Brooklyn.
do. Saltina. Sorry, my bad.
Sorry. No, well, not if you want to win. But so Brooklyn has to wear this. She has to go down the runway and wear this and try to model it the best she can. Brooklyn is known for her height, her beautiful legs, her dancing background. Like the person who you're going to be designing for. So everyone has an equal opportunity, it feels like, in this challenge to actually get it together and get it done. The only thing that was very strange to me was like we brought in a special guest of Suki doll, and I was like, oh, this is perfect, this is great, amazing. And Suki helped these girls so much. I think I saw her sew for like at least half the queens in this lineup just to show them how to do anything in their look or how to make it put together, right? And honestly, I'm totally fine with that. I love that they were trying to really kind of even the field, kind of give girls a little bit more because a lot of the girls were rolling off the train tracks this episode about this whole like I have to make a look thing. Like I don't know why because I'm like we've seen the show how many seasons now? You guys know there's going to be at least one design challenge. You're going to have to learn how to like apply fabric to a bodice or apply fabric to a corset or make an actual outfit. Like you're going to
See,
touch a sewing machine.
I think they got by the twist though. I think they really thought that they dodged the design challenge because they're not going to bring back Snatch Game, right, for the next challenge. I mean, well, I don't know.
Hopefully
But
not.
but like it's more likely than not like okay we did that part right, it's probably gone right, okay, it's good. But then they come back with this and it's like, oh, we didn't dodge it. But then it's like you're not dodging the Snatch Game, which makes sense though because like more of them did Snatch Game than design. But
Yeah.
I think they were a
But
little
yeah, I
gooped
think also
gagged personally.
I think it's a well-known thing that generally, to be fair, they don't have a ball this season. So in theory, you should have at least one design challenge and one ball every single season.
Hmm.
So you should know that there's at least two different design challenges. And I think to some extent the makeover kind of falls in the same category of like you knowing your aesthetic and how to translate it. And really branding yourself or at least like showing your creativity or who you are. And I think that's what this is really about. Like you do have to form a garment and it's about making the garment look good, but it's about also putting your like work and your effort into it to do something that would like model what you do. And like I think all of the girls really did a great job in showing what they do, and that's kind of why we got the results we did, honestly.
Well,
But I think that's what makes it such a successful challenge.
uh-huh. I would agree. Like, there's a lot of there's a lot of components to go into it that just make it so it's very even, but also it is a lot up to what you're able to do and what you're actually able to create at the end of the day. So I like that. It's fun. But we kind of spoke last week on like expectations for this challenge as well too, since again the majority of these queens hadn't done the design challenge again, and they were doing the snatch game poison. So Van was likely coming into this with the high expectations, giving her scene stealer design look win, and she was also just saved this week with the beaver given to her by her scissor sister Ebony. So if we're talking expectations, let's talk about Ebony's expectations here on with a Van, because this was a situation. It seemed very obvious that Ebony felt like Van should probably have been doing more to help her in this challenge, but Van was very clear that she's like, "Girl, I gotta put the mask on me first before I put it on you," and that's true. Like, you gotta put the mask on yourself before you're able to help anybody else. So I do think Ebony did have some unrealistic expectations, and I couldn't tell exactly what direction we were kind of heading with initially, because I wasn't sure if Ebony was feeling some type of way, because usually the girls get ready next to each other, right? And like this was like the first time in a hot minute where it was like, oh, it was Ebony and Caramel, or not? Sorry, Van and Caramel that were getting ready together. I'm like, is Ebony feeling some type of way about like Van not like helping as much as she could? Because like, let's be real, like especially looking at the results, like there's no way Van could have just busted out what she was doing there and gone back and done another outfit for Ebony. Like this wasn't a Saphir Cristal making it for my Im on the page moment, right? Like that couldn't have been done here. And there was also a
No,
lot more
definitely.
girls when it was happening when Saphir and Maya had their thing going on, so there was more places to hide. You had Plasma doing her thing, right? So at that point, like there was no Plasma here. Well, I'm in PM, but you know, that's another conversation. But you know what I mean. What were your thoughts on the whole Ebony and Van situation? Do you think it was just blown up more for dramatic purposes? 'Cause that's kind of what it felt
I
like.
do. I do think it was blown up more for dramatic purposes, but I also want to explain something that I think some people are going to look over. And this, really important to me at least, is that when we look at what was happening between Ebony and Van Gogh's like, I will show you how to like do this. I will show you how to do that. I'll like do the threading on the machine for you and like show you how to do it, because like Ebony doesn't know how to do it. Ebony's like going around asking anyone if they have a pattern or whatever, because she doesn't have one. She says, "Oh, can I just use like my outfit?" And it was like, yeah, you probably could to some extent. And Ebony was like, "Well, like I don't know how to do this." Like she wasn't even trying to do it. Like she literally like put the dress on a piece of paper and said, "I don't know how to cut this out though." And I was like, "Girl, the first thing you need to do is at least try. Try something. Cut it out in the paper, pin it down to the fabric, cut it out in the fabric, then try to put it together and be like, it didn't come out right. Can you give me a suggestion on like what I should have done differently?" And Van instead was like, "Hey, skip the paper part. That doesn't need to be done. What you can do is just do it directly on the fabric, because you have a lot of fabric and you're just trying to give her the underneath nude kind of thing. So like it's probably not even going to be seen by your outfit." So Van was basically like, skip that other step. You'll save time. This is going to help you. And by the time that Suki came around, Ebony is very upset, blah, blah, blah. Ebony gets like part of her outfit shown, and Suki shows her exactly how to do the bunching together to create the boa, and like gave her a good chunk of it right there, then and there, just so she knew how to do it, and basically told her exactly how to make her outfit how she wanted. And the end product ends up being like Ebony does a pretty good job. She just, the way she bunches it around the body isn't as flattering as it could be, but she ends up doing a good job. So it feels like Ebony needed to believe in herself more and needed to stop relying on someone else and actually take initiative, because it's one thing to say, "Oh, well, I was really like hit off guard by this." But what have you done in this competition to like really push yourself forward first before always asking for help and saying you can't do anything? And so I like that they eventually made up, and I think that they both saw the sides, but I do think it was very played up for, like, well, maybe not played up, but it was emphasized more, let's say,
Hmm.
to
Yeah,
create drama.
I'm glad that they ended up making up at the end of the day. So it's just like I'm glad that Ebony kind of saw that maybe she was asking for a little much. So, the other piece of drama here that I want to get to before we get into his looks, because I think it's kind of the catalyst for something else that happens here this episode, which I was not expecting it to kind of go in this direction. I thought it was just like maybe someone was just spilling some tea just to be messy, right? Well, like no, it like snowballed into this completely other thing, and that is when Cara Milk overhears a conversation between Ebony and Van talking about Saltina and her outfit, and Saltina initially has this thing where she wants to use the horns, right, and spikes to make her outfit edgy. And I'm just thinking in my head, at least initially in my head, I'm like, I don't think that's just what makes an outfit edgy is just, spikes, but. Go off, do your thing here, Saltina. Well, Caramel goes to Saltina and tells her about this conversation, and we were kind of talking about it too because it was like we couldn't figure out Caramil's like angle or what she was initially trying to do with this conversation. Was she just trying to call out like Ebony and Van? Was she actually going to Saltina with this as like actual advice to her to help her fix her outfit? We'll never know. But what we will know is that the next day, apparently Saltina got in her head and redid her whole outfit. What?
I don't know what happened with her outfit that she felt like she needed to completely do it, because at the very least she could have made a more simple dress like Caramel did and been successful, but like I don't know, because you see that the Van and Ebony are purposely not saying these things to Saltina or within earshot of Saltina to hear, because they're not trying to just like push her off her mental game. That's not what's happening here, right? Because Caramel says the things to her, she uses this like idea of like I'm being thrown off my mental game, but like that's not what happened here. That is not what happened here. If you were thrown off your mental game, it was not like the intent. It was not what they did. They did nothing really wrong. They're just like, ooh, girl, I don't know about that one. We've seen a million other girls in almost every single season do this in the workroom, talk about other people's looks. And it's not always like, oh, they said it to me to make me feel bad. No, it's not like that. But I think Caramel was just really trying to look out for her. I don't think Caramel necessarily had ill intent, but if she did, props to her, because it's a competition.
It's
No,
very
and
Fifi O'Hara,
a
like
hundred
telling
percent.
Roxy that she's worried for her. I'm worried for
It,
Sofia
but
Vergara,
like
and
here,
then she pops out with Alaska in a trash bag.
yeah, it would be very much like that, where she's like, I'm just saying it to say it. But like Caramel, like I don't think Caramel had that in her any way, shape, or form to like be mean. I just think she was like, hey, I heard them saying this.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I would
and
agree.
then she took it to Suki, and Suki was like, you know what though? Comic Con isn't that bad. Like, if you're going to be Comic Con, as long as you do it well, and it's not like, if what's that word, crafty Comic Con, as long as it's not that, then it's fine. And which is the funniest thing to me is that the look that she ends up with is crafty Comic Con instead of what
Ooh.
she could have had before. So I don't
Okay,
know.
well, we've been edging around it long enough here, Jack. It's time to finally let you go to the runway, and let's talk about these looks here. Let's go ahead and start off with the opening category here, which was the Paris spring summer looks. And who stood out for you, and who stood out for the wrong reasons, Jack?
All right, so it was a very simple split. I think today, there's roughly three tops, three bottoms, I guess, in that terms. There's only six of them. We have Van Gogh showing off full pastels with a face kini and everything, right? And like fully covered face, fully covered everything. She's giving us like a kind of like 60s inspired outfit, fully with pastels and a little bit of sparkly and beaming stuff. So she's really trying to give a different kind of look to her. Yes, she did the black hair again, but I think she sold this idea that like she can do more than just a white face and a gothic look. So she did extremely well on this, and her shoes matched.
Yeah,
Important to
Van was
note
my
because there
favorite
was
of the night.
Sammy Laundry also extremely, extremely fun. They called her the feather duster, like I'd like to have, or like the most fabulous feather duster, or something like that. And I was like, that's really funny. It was giving me that. It was really fashionable. It was kind of, it still was in Sammy's like wheelhouse of that kind of smoker mom kind of thing that she does, right? Because I was like, this somehow looks fashionable, yet like not extremely expensive, but then at the same time, like expensive. Like there was somehow it was like balancing and teetering perfectly on here, but
It's
like the
giving
mix
like
of the
Katya,
fabric and how the texture was.
like
Yeah,
how
it's you know
Katya
what
is
it is.
able to
It's
be
I'm glad
like
you said
that campy and like glamorous at the same time. That's what it was giving. Absolutely.
I'm glad you brought up Katya because you made me think of cotton because that's what I was thinking a lot of the time was cotton. I was like, it's like the cotton that gets stuck in the lint kind of, but make it fashion. You know, so I was like, I was really here for this. It was a really fun like way to look at this. And then finally Eboni goes with very very chic, I think fashionable, just simple idea. Big coat surrounding you. You reveal, keep the coat on, but you reveal into a very nice, simple dress or corset. You know, she has these petals on. I was like, the nude pump is fine.
I'm gonna say something
I think.
shady, maybe.
Oh, say it.
And yeah, a lot of Ebony's drag to me gives like stuff she would like wear on a regular basis. Like
It
there's
does.
an emphasis of like for me, drag is always larger than life, right? So there's just a little bit more exaggeration. I feel like I need from her. Like it feels like her best looks are the ones that she is able to exaggerate more. Like the when she did
Mm-hmm.
the burnt look, the chemical reaction look, when that was a little more exaggerated, that was way better. So I'm like, this wasn't bad, but there's still an element there where I'm like, I want her to drag it up a little bit more, just a little bit more, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very drag because of how it's extremely like all the petals are the fringe and like all the flowering and stuff. I feel like this isn't something you would walk outside and normally and see on a daily basis if you just were walking by because there's detailing on the coat and stuff. But I definitely see that it's very simple and it could have been elevated, specifically the reveal. That being said, she's still in my top three because we need to get to the bottom three. Saltina. At first I was like, "Oh, I like this." And then I noticed that this was a simple tube skirt kind of dress, right? A tube dress like essentially, right? That barely covered the top part of her like legs and just enough of her ass being covered, right? To the point where she just put these like kind of what looked like a fan of petals on the front of and I was like, "Oh, I like this. They're like detailed. There's stoning. There's like the hanging jewels from them." I was like, "Oh, this is nice." And then I was like, "I don't know about that green in the hair. I don't think I really like that too much." But when she stepped to the side and I saw it was like basically just placed on top of the tube, I was like, "Oh, okay, you've lost me." And also the shoe. The shoe didn't match. It made no sense. I didn't understand. The judges wanted her to do lighter in the face, and I think that could have helped with this look. But I don't think that was like the real big flaw here. I think it was just the look is just something placed on top of a very simple, technically a dress when it's just a tube. It wasn't great.
It's the
It was like
Lacadea effect.
it is very Lakudilla. Um, and Caramel is kind of in a similar situation for me because she did like a black like cat suit. Well, not even a cat suit. It's like a black leotard or something, right? And it's just she wrapped a gold thing around the one leg and then up the opposite arm. So at least we're getting a very asymmetrical look. And the whole top part of her is like this ruffling, rouging kind of effect or ruffling of this flower. But like it's on the front and the back at the same time. So at least it's going more than just being on the front, and I guess I can give her that. And she has a headpiece fascinator that like connects it together with the insects that are on it, and they called it very bellhop fashion or something like that. And I agreed. I thought she was a bellhop at first. She looked like one,
There was
and so
something
that was kind
about
of a
it,
miss
like
for me
the the guest judge said something about it. I forget exactly what he said about it.
conceptually.
But he was saying something like there was something like dreamlike to it. Like there was something about it that was just I forget what the exact terminology he used for it, but it was a good description for it because it was actually a really good look. I hated the fact that there was just nothing on the bottom part of it, right? So it just feels like again should just be more to it. But like if I'm just taking my expectations out of the whole realm of what I want from drag, right? And I'm looking at the look on its own, it's actually not a bad look. I just wish there'd be a little bit
Ooh.
more to it. I don't think it's a bad look. I think I do conceptually get kind of what she's going for with the fact that like the black cat suit is supposed to kind of be like in a lot of it's not supposed to be like her, right? It's supposed to be like when you had like Venus Deluxe being like the gnome, and you have like the whole rest of her body is not supposed to be shown, kind of thing. It's supposed to be like I think an idea kind of like that. So I don't
Well,
mind
her
that.
body wasn't hidden.
Yeah,
Her body was
it's
not hidden
not,
at all,
but I
and
like the idea that she was what she was kind of going for with the concept, though. So
it's very
that's all I want to say.
lazy, and I feel like it's very it's very it very much just feels like we placed things on top of this and called it an outfit without actually creating the full costume. Like, I have
Sure.
this hat, I want to incorporate it, and it just kind of misses the mark. And it was so funny because when the guest judge said like the nice thing about it, then when they went off the stage and they were talking as the judges, he was like, "I don't understand this. Like, why is it like this? Like, it's not strong enough." And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay, we'll call it out now, I guess." But that gets me to our final girl who's in the bottom. No surprise here. Um, PM is wearing a corset and it looks good on her to some extent, right? Like, it's fitting in the right places until you see the crotch area where you can just see straight up everything. There's riveting around the uh around the edges at the bottom, and then it's just it's like there's a invisible skirt thing, right, that goes to the bottom where the end of a dress would be, and there's more riveting down there, and it's just all completely sheer see-through. You can't, like, so it's just like she has a piece of yellow. You know what she looks like? She looks like a crayon. She looks like a crayon, or like a pen that shows you one of the colors on the very bottom, shows you the clear inner side, and then shows you the color on the top, kind of thing. That's what it kind of gives. And she has on what is supposed to be like a showgirl kind of idea thing, which for her I think is a very step in a different direction. So I'll give her that. But it wasn't really giving us much. Very it was very lazy. It was uninspired. It was old showgirl, but it's going to be different for me, so people are going to love it. It's not anything.
I don't think I would have
It's
hated it as much if she didn't already basically do this 100 different times, like on the runway kind of thing. Like there's something about the lower half of it that you are saying that it does look a little weird. But there's something about it I did kind of like or understand at least the idea or the concept. It was kind of giving me like when, you know, you do um like the big hat with the beading kind of thing, you know, like the
mhm.
Carrie Colby, the Alyssa Hunter, you know, the girls that do that. Like that's kind of what it was kind of giving me a little bit, and I was kind of like, ooh, okay. But then like I don't know, we've just seen this so many times, and I'm just like, how many different
the
showgirls like alien outfits can we possibly kind of like do, right?
well, and
I'm bored. I'm bored.
it's boring, but it's like it's a step in a different direction for PM, I think, in the sense of like being a showgirl, but we didn't really hit the showgirl mark. And also, if I the crotch isn't covered at all. That's like what really killed it for me the most was when PM took a step, I could just see her underwear. Like, and it wasn't even like panties like underneath like an outfit, you know, if it was sheer and you were supposed to look sexy or something. It looked like just straight up tidy whities that were like gray or something. And so I was like, we didn't even take into consideration like how to continue the illusion or the art of the drag. So just like you're just kind of just showing things that like it feels like you just didn't care enough. I'll give her the fact that she did match her shoe color very well to the plumes of the pink on her. And the yellow and the pink does work well together. So we've got some really good elements. It's just totally, unfortunately, like poorly constructed and executed specifically. So I shouldn't say poorly constructed. I say it's poorly executed, and it's a chop.
Yeah. I would definitely agree. I was not really vibing with this, but that's not a surprise anymore, right? Um, let's
No,
go
no, it's
to their
not.
Brooke Lynn Hytes looks. 'Cause I'll be honest, in some ways, I was a little bit more impressed collectively with the groups, the looks that we saw last season. But I do think there was one look that definitely stands out the most between both groups. What were your
Oh
thoughts on
yeah.
these looks here, Jack?
Okay, so let's start with the negative since we were still on it, and we'll end with the positive this time. So we've already gotten into it. Saltina essentially just wrapped a few pieces of fabric together, safety pinned it on front, and like wrapped a not sheer, but a sparkly like piece of fabric around to kind of tie it together, and then put it on Brooke Lynn. And I was like, what is going on? It was, I think, the worst creation I've ever seen in this challenge, I want to say, to this date. I mean, I how do you justify getting rid of your whole outfit and pulling something together out of nowhere and it just being like the worst thing ever? Like and I'm not trying to be mean, but it really is very bad. It doesn't look good. It looks like there's like nothing of thought really put to here other than let me make sure that it doesn't fall apart as best as I can. It looks like a 10-minute job right behind the stage. Like, let's wrap it
Ooh,
around her body and say it worked. It's complete trash. It's bad. I was like, I can't believe you assaulted the fabric that way. Now, moving on to someone who just did slightly better, just slightly. Um, we have a great attempt from PM. Given what PM showed us the last time in a design challenge, this is 10 million times better than that. But then again, if you
you have
times
nowhere to
zero
go
by
or up, you
10,000,
know.
you'll still, right. Yeah, there's literally, we physically cannot go negative right now. Um, Having no outfit at all probably would have been better than the last thing we saw. So,
Ooh,
given that, um, PM has this idea of wanting to do a kind of tutu thing for Brooke Lynn, the ballerina thing, because they're both dancers. Again, we constantly get here about how they're dancers, but whatever. So they construct this gown and try to do like a pink to black, like ombre effect going on here with using like tulle and other fabrics that are very transparent to trying to give us that effect. It kind of just looks like someone's awful like prom dress got ripped at the bottom. They hemmed it together with like some cheap ass like dollar store bargain bin clearance at the Joanne Fabrics rip, rest in peace, that you could find of just anything that was sparkly. And they kind of just like, you know, cut it somewhere. So it's just like we have the half the ball hoop skirt and we forgot the hoop. So we put the hoop on at the bottom real quick and said, all right. Um, and then we took the rest of that trim and we put it on her breasts. And it looks trashy. It was very, they called it boxy. It was very stiff. I was surprised. I said, this is much better than I expected from PM, but it was bad. It was hard to look at. It was like, huh. When you really looked at it, you're just like, everything is so lopsided and so uneven that it just didn't even make sense, really. You were just like, so you did try and you put in effort and you're getting an A for effort because I see the improvement. Drag Race doesn't teach you how to be a seamstress or a designer per se, but it can definitely help you grow as an artist, and that happened here. Now, next up, this is kind of the middle area where it's like there are two girls I kind of go back and forth upon, and we have Ebony's dress, who is this ruffling, this fun, like kind of collaboration between that bodysuit thing she was trying to do and the ruffling as a dress, just this boa that waves around the body, almost like two snakes that cover Brooke Lynn. And she looks pretty good in it. It's just there's a lot of bundling in the hip area, and so it takes away from her hip shape. And so it's kind of hard because some of her legs get cut off because there is so much bundling in the front, and that's what they were really critiquing her on for the most part, because honestly, this isn't that bad of a look if we could just edit it a bit. Like, give us 2 more hours to really edit this down or fix this here and there, and we could make this really like runway ready completely. I do think that the color she chose was nice, but if you look in the middle, she tried to incorporate a much brighter red, a very shiny bright red, and purple at the bottom. The magenta and the maroon kind of colors were kind of complementing and kind of going together, where the purple and the red kind of just felt like they were added, and I don't think it added any value here, or at least in terms of how the look presented on the stage, it didn't really add a lot. And so I think maybe we got a little off course on how we were doing that. So it's not a complete fail. I think the silhouette is there. We just need to fix it. And with Sammy's, it was like the body wasn't tailored right. You know, the nip slips were happening, and there was a little bunching here or there that I didn't think looked perfect on Brooke Lynn. But again, no one here other than Van knows how to design an outfit really. So I
The truth
mean,
in that statement.
Sammy's though is really. I think Sammy probably actually does win this. No, it's look. I put it as like two tops, two middles, two bottoms because I think there really was like a gap between the top. I think there was a really big gap between the bottom two and everyone else. And there's another gap eventually, but that gap is canyon sized, like extremely. With Sammy, she did a simple dress. It didn't go long enough on the body to both cover the top and the bottom parts, but it's very her, you know. And Ebony's is very her as well. And I think they both translated their drag over here well. Sammy goes with more of an asymmetrical look, and you can see the black and the red from the texture in the pattern that she's using of the animal print. And she tries to use the no, she does use the black as like a great moment to kind of cover the top part to really give it a difference in the layering of the outfit and really kind of place it so it makes sense with the outfit. So it's not just a piece of fabric. It's like there's an actual thought and idea of how to present this outfit to make it look elevated. And so we see that black also travel from the top part of the like bustier kind of thing going on to the bottom section where it's an asymmetrical line. The fabric is draping on one side and goes diagonally up, so it's giving us a lot of exposure to the leg. Brooke Lynn looks good in it. It just needs to be more fitted towards her body. It just needed more fabric and, you know, to maybe steam it out or not steam it out. I'm sorry, like iron it out or something. Figure out how we can get the fabric to not bunch necessarily in all the same places. But it was a very good attempt. It was a very good execution, actually, of all things considered. But you know, the next two, they really killed it. Keeping with a simple theme, Cara Milk goes for a elegant black gown, and it's so well done. It is beautiful. She has layered these fabrics on here. There's shiny, sparkly, like what looks like sequins, and then there's some what looks like almost tulle or like some other transparent fabric. She has a beautiful, like kind of furry, feathery thing on top where the dress eventually ends to really kind of show some that nice cutoff, but also like create a moment in the outfit because she also has a piece that she has placed in the middle of the outfit to give it a more textured look on the bodice specifically. And there's a cut in the dress so you can still see the legs, and it's a very easy, flowy to walk in. And Brooke Lynn looked amazing in it. And I think one of the most not only was it like shiny and everything, and we love that, obviously glamour, glitz, uh, glitter, everything. But these fun little small tipped, feathery, kind of flowery moments is just like really fun at the top here because it slightly covers like nothing, but it's another thing just to look at and it makes sense with the outfit. And it's so well executed, and especially for Cara Milk. Not that I want to say, well, for this girl, but like for Cara Milk in this competition, she hasn't been known for like being in the top, and this was a huge improvement for her. Right? She did great last week. She did amazing this week. Like she's on an upward climb right now. But by far, and no one's surprised by this, Van Goth is the winner of this week because she gives us these huge shoulder things, kind of similar to what Ebony does, but a full-on collar shoulder thing that completely covers Brooke Lynn Hytes shoulders. It's giving very feminine energy because Brooke Lynn's arms look slimmer and sleeker, and she has this like perfectly done outfit of just this black and red material that you're just kind of mesmerized by because the pieces fit together so well. And Brooke Lynn herself even said, I have never like really worked with someone who was able to get my proportions correctly like on the first time. So she was like, I'm shocked how well it fit me. The shoes are right, they're correct. She has peplums kind of thing as the hips going on. I don't know if that those are necessarily considered peplum, but I'm sure I will be corrected. And off the hips, it really gives this a beautiful shape because it mimics the top part of the shoulder covering to the hips, and then you can see the detailed the the way that the fabric is placed on the bodice and on the bottom part of the dress. It could be a little longer. That was the only critique they gave to her, and I agree it could be, but also she just looks amazing in this. The way that it's placed on there just looks very professional, and the black like bottom half of the outfit, there's a black almost like train or kind of back part to the dress to give it a bit more dimension because it's almost like it's like an accent because there's so much red in this pattern and a little bit of black. It just gives more depth to the black, especially with Brooke Lynn's makeup and her hair. And then to top it off, the draping of three lines of pearls, a small pearl on top, a small pearl on bottom, and a medium slash bigger pearl in the middle. And she does it right across the breast area and right across like the hip area. And because the pearls are white, it's like attention keeps going to these great areas of the body and you want to just see the shape, and it's so amazing to see how well she did this in such a limited amount of time. Like, this is beautiful. It was
Hmm.
next level for sure. I No one came close last season to this, but this is so beautiful.
This will definitely be in the running for like design looks of 2026 for sure. I mean, like if this episode happened yesterday,
This will guarantee to be a
this could
nomination.
have been in the this could have literally been in the running for best looks of 2025. To be honest, this was so good.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
so impressed with Van on the runway. So impressed with her design skills. Like I was not expecting that. Like I know she comes from like her group with Aurora Matrix from season 4 and Perla from season 5. So I'm not like shocked to know that she has some sort of skill here, but like the level and just the elevated just I was not expecting this at all for her to be able to do stuff like this. Like this is next level. This I would love to see if Van ultimately wins her competing against like some of these like Simone and like an all winners, right? Like, well, Simone actually couldn't design her own looks. Violet Chachki, Willow Pill, our design queens from our season. Isis Couture, like she would be among some amazing, amazing talents if she was able to lock in a win. Nymphia Wind, like it would be the next level sewing challenge of all time. But um, ultimately, when the dust settles, y'all, we learned that Van Gogh, to nobody's surprise here, has won her third challenge of the season. But in an expected twist as well, too, they do tell us that they've taken away the beaver. So sadly, Van won't be able to get her revenge on Saltina and save Eboni and all the things that we were expecting from the storyline to happen because they took away the beaver. But ultimately, doesn't matter because Van kind of gets her way as Ebony is saved from the bottom three, or from the bottom two, and PM and Saltina Shaker do very deservingly end up in the bottom two for this week. So they end up lip syncing here to Priyanka's "I'm a Star," and I thought this was a pretty good lip sync. I thought they both did they did it well, but I was searching for like a moment, right, to kind of take away from the lip sync, and it just felt like PM was kind of just doing her ballet thing around the stage, and Saltina was in it, but it felt like she was also kind of out of it too, because I saw her messing with her wig like quite a bit, so it didn't feel like she was able to like give her full attention to the performance, but this also didn't feel like it was one of those things where it was like anybody did like terrible to the point where it's like they could be eliminated just based off the lip sync. So for me, it felt like it was going to come down to track record, right? So I'm a little gagged that, as you said, PM, who this is like her fourth time in the bottom now, is saved over Saltina, and this is her first time in the bottom two. So it just feels like if we're looking at like things on a true spectrum, like PM should be going home here. I'm very gagged that we're saving her again, especially when PM hasn't had any highs this season. She has not had any
Well,
wins this season.
that's
Like,
certainly not true.
okay, she's had a few highs here and there,
She's
but
at two
like,
highs,
if we're
yeah.
going to really be like, I meant high, not necessarily like, I meant high as like a win, like a moment where I'm going to, and I'm looking at that point and I'm be like, that is the moment where PM like did like her thing. Like every single time like she's been high, there's been someone who's overshadowed her, so it hasn't been like her thing as far as the way I'm looking at it. Like, there's no moment here where I'm really looking at PM's journey and being like, okay, I get why we're sacrificing people who have wins over you. I just
But
don't
she's a
get
dancer.
it.
Um, no, it's again, it's this favoritism thing. It's something must be in the water that the people are drinking here because I want to actually rewind a little bit to when they were in the Untucked and Ebony was in her feelings and stuff, and she's upset because she's in the bottom. All of the queens are convinced, like they know the bottom three and they know the top three. Okay, and that's what it ends up being. Yeah, no surprise there. But girls were saying, well, I think it's probably Ebony in the bottom two. And the other person who I think didn't say that was Van Goth, and I was like, are we all like on the same show? Are we all on the same stage? Do we all hear what was going on? Do we see the looks with our eyes? Can everyone see? Can we get glasses? Glasses check? Contacts? Anyone? Does anyone need a prescription? Can we get an optometrist in here? Like, I was confused what the girls were getting at, thinking that Ebony had a even like hair of a chance to be in the bottom two. That was crazy to me. I thought I was like, are you all just saying this because you want to like set yourselves up to feel better, or are we like really this drag delusional about it? And it felt like to me that if anything, this was a moment that if we're going to talk about someone like trying to say something about someone else's performance or doing this or that, or trying to like get in their head, this would have been that because I was like, ain't no way. I know that Ebony and Van Gogh had their little mish like mash thing. They had a conversation in there in front of everyone, and it was a little tense at first, and trying to like really just resolve everything and be sisters. But like, how did we get to the point where people thought either PM or Saltina wasn't going to be in the bottom two? I I don't know.
I think
I'm
they were
gay.
just jumping in on the whole bandwagon because clearly they're threatened by Van and Ebony. So it felt like one of those situations where it's like, let me maybe speak on it and maybe speak into an existence kind of thing because that'd be better for all of them if Ebony was to be eliminated here at this point. So I don't know. There's a little bit of that felt like it was going on, but it's very clear it's like those two versus the world at this point, right?
Yeah, the gap and the canyon that was created between the looks and the challenges was crazy. But additionally, we get to the lip sync, and to no one's surprise, other than apparently some of the girls in the Untucked, Ebony is saved and clearly is like not in the bottom two. So we get this lip sync between PM and Saltina Shaker, and PM is not really connecting with us very often, but Saltina at least is connecting with the audience the whole time and like really in the front, trying to like make us like see every move she's doing. She's on the beats, it's fun. She's doing a great job in my opinion. Yes, she messed with her hair a little bit. Like that one time she like tried to spin it around and it went well, but the time before that she was trying to just do something before the hair and it kind of she was worried it might have fallen or anything like that, and so she checked it. Yes, it was a little distracting, but there was no way in hell that anyone could tell me that Saltina lost this lip sync. I'm like, I'm sorry, but the favoritism has gone too far, girls. Saltina was literally the second placer of the lip sync Lollapalooza last week, right? So when Saltina loses to the girl who barely saved herself in the bottom three last week, I'm like, well, that didn't happen, actually. I know we're living in the universe where Saltina did go home at sixth place, but Like, it's clearly favoritism. There's clearly a reason for this. There's some production shenanigans going on or something. And in all honesty, as long as PM is cut, I guess it doesn't really matter because did I see Saltina winning this season? No, not unless she got like another win or two. Did I see Saltina being in the top two? Only potentially if she got another win and Eboni got two low placements. Because I kind of think we're all expecting the Eboni Van Goth top two and Sammy as our like guaranteed top three as well. And I think Saltina was kind of the person we all thought was going to also probably make the top four. So based on this now, it's like, well, now we have PM here who still needs to go home. So Carrot Milk is automatically guaranteed like the top four position in my mind, because if you keep PM one more time, you might as well tell girls that none of the challenges matter and that you can just lip sync your way to the end, because that's what you're saying, even if you don't win the lip syncs. So it's kind of weird, and maybe there's a gag next week. Maybe we'll get a top three instead of a top four, because it did kind of seem like they were giving us something to really look for, some big twist. We know we're going to get a challenge with like 4 pillars of charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Maybe there's a twist in where there's a double elimination, or maybe it's going to be a thing where like there's going to be one girl who wins each of those challenges, and the 5th girl is automatically eliminated because she didn't win one of the challenges, and that's how we decide our top 4. Maybe there's something like that. Something really unexpected as to how we decide our top 4, and that's how we could, in theory, get ourselves to an unpredictable top 4 at this point. But I don't understand why we have to keep saving this girl who has been in the bottom so many times, who has not done anything that great throughout the season. She has double the bottom placements as Caramel, and I know every single person watching the show thought at some point or another in the last couple of weeks that Caramel was going to go home. Like, we all knew that everyone was thinking Caramel was going to go home because that's what they kind of made it seem like. So now it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Well, as always, can't wait to see how this turns out, and hopefully y'all can't either, especially if you stuck around for this long. Thank you again so much for listening. Please drop a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more, and leave a comment below on your thoughts of that lip sync. Until next time, on behalf of my co-caster, QuackrrJack, this is Renegayde signing out. Remember, keep spilling that tea, y'all. Bye!